three times because each time we chose two people to be on the cover. That was by that time, Lehman Brothers was close to happening, but incidentally, the Dubai investigation regime had started before that.
Okay.
So every time you put two people on the cover, mysteriously they'd be lost somewhere because they've been investigated. So the third time around, we got it right, and we put the Nasdaq deal on the cover, Nasdaq Dubai. So Saud and Isa Kazim, they were put on the cover. But Lehman Brothers had crashed. Wall Street didn't need Esquire. Esquire, lifestyle of the Maseratis and the Hublots and others was based on bonuses. Nobody was getting bonuses. So the parent company was going south. We were okay on revenues. And I have a good friend who's in publishing called Ian Fairservice. And Ian, every year, he has an arrangement with Dubai Desert Classic where he sponsors it. And every year on the first day of the men's Desert Classic, he holds a gentleman's lunch, which is in a chalet. And it's a very English lunch. I think, Nick, you've been to the last one. I'm sure a few others would have been to. But it's a delightful lunch. So that 2009, January, or whatever, 26th or whatever it was, and that lunch, you typically go in at 12, and you sort of stagger out at about 3:30, consuming huge amounts of liquids, and that's the only way. So at about 3 o'clock, Ian got hold of me, and he was, he'd had a few. Yeah. He was happy. I was perhaps happier. But, and Ian said, Avi, I thought you're a smart guy. What's gone wrong with you? I said, what are you talking about, Ian? You, of all the people, you're getting into publishing? What's wrong with you?
Right, he thought he was competition.
No, I said, I'm not competing with you, Ian. This is a small little niche, and my idea is something different. He says, I'm finding it close to impossible to survive. I'm going to survive. So I said, what are you suggesting I do? He says, close it tomorrow. I said, Ian, I put money. He says, save the rest of your money. When I sobered Thursday evening, thought about it, spoke through, Sunday went and closed the business.
Next day itself? Huh?
Sunday, next. Michael was in there. Michael, you remember at the time? Yeah, okay. Michael was running finance of what is called International Media Ventures, which we changed it to International Management Ventures and changed the business model. But you fail. Sometimes you need to know when to quit. Because you try and put good money over trying to recoup bad money is not a good idea.
As an entrepreneur, what should I look at when I should decide, okay, it's time to shut this down, this is not going to work?
Well, difficult to say. The first bit is, you'll see yourself that, the spring in your feet to get into that office in the morning starts diminishing. That's one. The second factor is you find 20 reasons why you'll have meetings away from that office. Time to quit. Time to quit. Time to quit.
Acha, tell me, you are doing a lot of things right now. Tell us, what all are you doing right now? What's your work week like?
I can put it into three buckets. I have a day job, I have a night job, and I have a late night job.
Weekend job?
Sorry?
Weekend job or
it's 24/7, and it's doing nothing 24/7. It depends on how you look at it. If you enjoy what you're doing, it's not a job anymore. A job is almost a chore. That's something that you don't enjoy doing, but you have to do for a set of reasons.
Fair enough.
So I say I hang out because I enjoy doing what I do. That's what hanging out is.
Yeah.
So, that's the difference between a job and a hangout. So in the day job, it's still PanGulf, which is now scaled. It's called BPG Group. So we have an advertising business, which is BPG Bates. We have a public relations business, which is BPG Cohn & Wolf. We have a media business, which is BPG Maxis. And we have a digital business called BPG Possible. And we have a separate strategic business unit in Kuwait, which is in partnership with Al Shaya there, so called BPG Kuwait. And we've got a stillborn healthcare practice called BPG Health World.
Why stillborn?
Well, it's yet to be born, kind of. It's there as a brand, but it doesn't. It's there. It's got good case studies. In fact, yesterday, I think Clark was redoing the website, I said, Clark, do we still have this? He says, yeah, I've got lots of case studies. I said, do we have any current studies here? But the other businesses are pretty significant, pretty scaled, and yeah, that's my day job.
So that's
I've
the day
got,
job.
and I'm fortunate. I need to hang out, but I've got great guys who run those businesses. I'm lucky on that. And that's the other thing about entrepreneurs. A smart entrepreneur would hire people smarter than him or her. Because a lot of entrepreneurs tend to shortchange on talent. Nobody can take your job away because you own the business. So don't feel insecure. Get people who are smarter than you, and the rest will follow. So that's night job is I help my wife run the schools and nurseries. I don't run the schools and nurseries. I occasionally tell her what she wants to hear, and I manage the shareholders, and I also I manage the deals for the education business, and it's now become a sizable business, and 8,000 kids.
Wow.
We got into that business because she wasn't happy with the school, in particular, a younger boy was going to.
Okay.
So we thought there's got to be a better way of doing this, and we chanced upon the IB Continuum curriculum, and we chanced upon the first pesticide. And there's a person again, Mohammad Alabar, had confidence in our capabilities, and we built Dubai International Academy. That was the first school in Emirates Hills. And 4 years later, in the meanwhile, Emaar decided that if they can do it, so can we. They went and bought out a company out of Singapore and created schools called Raffles, schools and nurseries here. 2010, when the music was stopping, Emaar decided to divest, and we were invited to bid along with others. Some others, a very, very powerful private equity and the biggest education group, wanted to buy the asset in distress. It's again, as an entrepreneur, when you're trying to buy or sell a company, rather than seeing what's in it for you, if you see what's in it for the seller and try and give the seller a win, you're likely to win more.
Sure.
We didn't have the money to buy Raffles International Schools with the assets. We didn't have the money that the largest school operator had, and the largest private equity player was backing the largest operator at that point in time. So instead, we decided to analyze what will give Emaar a win, which was to vindicate the balance sheet. So we bought the business, but we didn't buy the real estate. It's a no-brainer idea. So sometimes when you look at where the other party would get a win, you could get a stronger win.
So day job, night job, and late night job?
Late night job is what you call private investments. So that's what International Media Ventures has become International Management Ventures. And through that, we've created a few offshore vehicles. And there's a rather interesting, what my boys call Dad's Midlife Crisis, which is a nightclub, which
You've invested in a nightclub?
yeah, it's running quite well. I've actually kept increasing my investments, and now I'm a very, very significant.
How cool is that? Which one is this?
It's called Mahiki. It's in Jumeirah Beach Hotel, and
Wow.
it's fun to hang out.
Wow.
We go there once in 2 or 3 months, and I think some of you would have gone. So I've invited you a few times, but a couple of times we dropped out. But yeah.
So this is
And a few other. There's an out-of-home media company that I've invested in India with the most prominent family out of India. I don't want to name him. And there are a few other businesses that we're building now. International Management Ventures is getting into a few other things, including education, cross-border, beyond here, and funds where we're just about incorporated rather late in the day, but a real estate development company. So, but then with a clear belief and a clear vision that there is value in thinking of brand in that and thinking of customer in that, and rather than thinking of pure profits. Because our belief is if you do the right things, the bottom line will happen.
Sure. And there's Endeavor as well.
Yeah, Endeavor is giving back. Endeavor is giving back. Endeavor, I didn't know very much about it. My friend Arif Naqvi one evening says, partner, what are you doing next week? Can you come home for dinner? And then Pudev and I go for dinner, and That's an Endeavor dinner, and Arif glorifies me. The next week he says, partner, Endeavor is there globally, but it's not in this country. And can we try and do it? So we managed to put a board together. Patrick Shalhoub and Mona Al-Gurgar, co-chair of the board. There's Badr Jafar, there's me, there's Joseph Gazoob, there's two people from Mahid Al Futtaim Group, because Mahid Al Futtaim Group came in as a corporate investor. There's Nilesh Ved of Apparel Group. And have I missed somebody? Yeah, there's Noor Swed, who's Zen Yoga. And she's and basically we are about trying to enable entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And we've all contributed. We contribute resources, both material and time. We identify.
You put down money?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to
and then you have to dedicate time. Okay,
significant.
This is where your mentorship also?
Yeah, and you try and identify entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And you typically try and identify entrepreneurs who you think who reached about $3 to $5 million of revenue and who are at the next stage. And you try and look at not just financial, but even societal and emotional objectives. And there's a whole process, and it's like Bain & Company provides a time completely pro bono. Ernst & Young provides, every now and then, people from E&Y from all over the world come and work for the entrepreneurial team. So there are lots of advantages. Harvard and Stanford have special programs for Endeavor entrepreneurs to accelerate their careers. So once you identify an Endeavor entrepreneur in your country, then there's something called the global ISP, which is called it's a global panel. So I've actually experienced one of those global ISPs that happened in Dubai. We had to dedicate 2 days of our time. We looked at 6 companies, and the deal is there are 3 sets of jury of 2 members each.
Okay.
All 6 have to unanimously vote for the company to make it. So there's horse trading that happens on day 2. I'll back your company if you back mine, and those kind of things. So I had this situation where Fadi Gandoor and I were at two different ends, and Fadi is the poster boy of entrepreneurship in the Arab world.
Sure.
And we had to outsmart Fadi to ensure that he backed our entrepreneur and we didn't back his. So,
which one was that? Can you share
No,
that?
because he was trying to back a Jordanian non-starting entrepreneur. So, then finally he said, you know what, I had to do it because that's from my chapter. But that's.
Can you share who you're backing, or is that something?
No, that particular entrepreneur. It's again, I don't. This guy was a nerd from Miami. This is not here. So global guys come in.
Okay.
And he was into cloud computing. I don't know very much about cloud computing. But his name was Jesus. And this guy was from Eastern Europe. And he was heading up cloud computing, one of the strategic units in Microsoft.
Okay.
He gave up. He set up a first company, sold it for $25 million. The second company was building. He said, I've got offered $50 million, but I think I'm 2 zeros short. That's the value that I... So to me, just the confidence that the guy had, and that metric was right that he sold his first company for $25 million. I said, guys, he's in a different league, let's not even try and go there. The rest of the jury, the issue was we don't understand what he's saying. We would not understand cloud computing of that level. But sometimes you need to back on your belief. And I wish I'd invested in that company because it's already valued at $200 million. He's got 4x since last December.
Wow.
But that's a rare one. That's a rare one.
You're, sorry.
Yeah. So Endeavor here, we've got a few companies that we've shortlisted. Part of the thing is that the company that becomes an Endeavor entrepreneur through the global ISP has also got to commit 2 things. One is 2% of their moment of truth, exit time, to the Endeavor chapter. So that's how sustainability happens. And the second, and it's not a legal contract. It's much more of a gentleman's contract. You can't take the entrepreneur to court. You can't do that. And the second bit is, which is more important, is they need to start mentoring and participating. Okay. So there's a company called Property Finder.ae, which is an Endeavor entrepreneur. Very smart entrepreneur. Converted his business from a magazine publishing business into a digital business. He failed as a magazine publisher, except very good valuation. Once a quarter, he gets the chairman of Bain's Middle East and Africa practice, gets me, and he gets a guy called Peter Worowiecki, who's a real estate guru. He's run Maid Al Futtaim, and now he's heading up real estate for Abdulaziz Al Ghurair. We are committing every quarter 4 hours of our time to mentor Michael make more money.
Wow.
Now that value, forget my value, but Jean-Marie Payne and Peter Worowiecki is real value because they understand the businesses. And you rip the entrepreneur aside, and so that. Then he's being nominated for a program at Harvard. There's an Ernst & Young mid-level executive who's moving for 3 months from France to Dubai to help structure his financial side of the business. Everything pro bono.
Oh, sounds like
so that's So it's but you got to have some degree of scale, and you got to have some vision.
Right.
And you got to.
So that's Endeavor.
Yeah.
But you have your private office as well. Where so there's someone sitting here with a business plan, and he's looking. How should he approach you? What do you look for in a business plan? What excites you as an investor?
Personally, I look at the person. I look at the person. What are his or her motivations for doing what they want to do? How much of the skin in the game? It's like when we started off Dubai Internet City, we wanted to position it globally, so we decided to do an eBiz challenge. This was in 2000. And I think Rahul would remember that. We got about 1,900 business plans. Out of those 1,900, about 1,800 of them were all well-placed executives. The first flaw they would put in the business plan is this: they start with the salaries around the same level.
I want to get paid the same thing.
I want to get paid the same bit, and I want 75% of equity.
Wow.
And you know what?
Sure.
An entrepreneur has to realize there's nothing called free money.
That's going to happen.
So that's not going to happen. But most people said, the fact that I'm leaving the comfort of my executive vice president title should be enough. I don't care what you call it. So but it's you bet. I'd like to believe you bet on the person, not on the idea.
Okay.
You bet on the person, not on the business plan.
Sure.
You bet on the person who's ready to put his or her skin in the game. And at least I look at what are the motivators. And if the motivators are strong enough, the person will come out reasonably well. Whether he may have thought of an online business and end up with a coffee shop, that may well happen, or whatever, but he'll make a go of it, if the drivers are right.
Please share with us some learnings, your personal learnings.
The first bit is you need to have a clear reason for becoming an entrepreneur. Not just that it sounds kind of sexy to be that.
What do you mean?
No, you need to be clear as to what your drivers are. I spoke a little while ago. You need clarity on your drivers, that's clear. The second, I would say, and having said that, please don't think that what I say I do.
Sure.
What I say is what I believe in, what I do is what I think I just do it. So, as Poonam keeps saying, I keep making the same mistakes time and again. But the second thing, when you get into a business, think medium to long-term exit. Think your exit strategy. There's a fundamental difference between building a business and having a child. With a child, you want to nurture your child to the rest of her or his life. With a business, please it's a material thing. No matter how emotional you feel, it will help you stay less emotional if you think of a medium-term to long-term exit. So you need to think about, what is it that I want to do? A lot of people don't think through that, and therefore suddenly they come to this situation where I don't want to buy, I don't want to sell, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. So, so you need to be sure.
Fair.
The third is, I genuinely believe, and I haven't gone very right with my partners quite often. I don't want to talk about it at this stage, for it's not right. But I still believe in the power of partnership. Get a couple of partners who not just complement you, but more importantly, whom you trust more than you trust yourself in their area of competencies.
Okay.
So that's important.
Yeah.
So don't just, that I get along with this person is not a good enough idea.
Sure.
The last business, I don't want to name the partner because but he's a very, very successful entrepreneur. I wanted to do a business and I felt that having him as a partner would be good. Picked up the phone and said, let's have coffee. We're decent friends, but we hadn't talked about, and within 24 hours, we had a partnership because we felt that we complement each other.
Fair enough.
And here's a